Brilliance Audio presents Mob Cops by Greg B. Smith. Performed by Peter Burkrot. The guy in the trunk made no sound. It was past midnight on a lonely highway headed out of New York and into the frigid darkness of New England. Inside the car, the man at the wheel was all by himself, driving this highway in the middle of the night, the green light of the dashboard illuminating the underside of his face. He was a young man, about 25 years old, with a gaunt, tired face and thick eyeglasses. This was the middle of winter, and cold pressed on the car's windows, increasing the young man's isolation. It was just the young man and the guy in the trunk. The young man with the eyeglasses did not know the name of the guy in the trunk or precisely why he was there. He had been told to pick up the car and drive it to a spot off the highway somewhere in God-forsaken Connecticut, where there was a hole waiting, freshly dug. It was a simple plan. He was the delivery guy. That was it. He didn't actually kill the guy, and he didn't see who did. So he couldn't say anything about that if he got pulled over by a state trooper for a busted taillight or something, out here in the middle of nowhere. Still, it would be an awkward moment. The more he thought about it, the more the young man concluded that the guy in the trunk was a very complex matter indeed. "I drove myself, and it made me very uncomfortable," the young man would say later. "I trembled all the way up to Connecticut in the car by myself. I was scared to death." The way the young man explained the situation to himself was that he had no choice. He was a degenerate gambler. This was the phrase he himself used when describing his choices in life. If he drove around with a body in the trunk, it was all because he was a degenerate gambler. In this particular circumstance, he had borrowed a lot of money from an ex-cop named Wes Daly, and now Wes needed a favor. "I felt that if I had said no, I would have had some type of problem with Wes over the money I owed," the young man said. The year he received his bar mitzvah was the year the young man first began to gamble. "I don't think I was very good," he often said. "I never won." He had started out with much promise. He got into a high school called Brooklyn Tech, a prestigious school that required a rigorous devotion to academic excellence. He was not up to the task. Sometimes his father would take him to the track. For some young men, this was not a big deal. They bet on a trifecta and walked back into the world of homework and sports and friends, and that was it. But not for this young man. When he gambled and lost, he only wanted to gamble and win. In his sophomore year, he was gambling and losing, and so he had to leave Brooklyn Tech. He transferred to the far less demanding Manual Training High School and managed to graduate. He continued to gamble. This was odd because the young man was aware of the vulnerabilities inherent in gamblers. Gambling was at odds with one of the guiding principles of his neighborhood in Brooklyn. This was the guiding principle that dictated, under no circumstances do you become a rat. He would put it this way: "In my background, when you gamble, then you become a liar, and then you become a stool pigeon." It was possible the young man could have risen above all this. He had survived and prospered in the U.S. Navy. When the Korean conflict broke out, he signed up and got a job as a full-time participant in the Cold War, with a top security clearance. He served in Japan and Washington, D.C., where he was a radio operator assigned to copy Russian transmissions. This information was considered so vital to national security that he had to swear his allegiance to the president. He promised to fight to the death against every member of the Communist Party he came across, even aunts and uncles. He got so good at it, the National Security Agency tried to recruit him. But in 1956 he had done his time and returned to his old neighborhood in Brooklyn. He got married to a beautiful girl from the neighborhood. She was kind and good, and her father was a cop in the New York City Police Department. He was surrounded by good people and making a decent paycheck. His father, an electrician, had opened an appliance store and hired him when he returned from the Navy.